Hi everyone, Eddie Munson here with Rhyme Signatures, the nerdiest music review this side of rolling a natural 20 on a divine smite against Vecna. Today, we are going to be doing a review of the new Hellfire album, Reckoning. Okay, so thrash metal has a very special place in my withered, crusty old heart. From a very young age, I was mostly raised by my parents' musical diet of Diana Ross and the Supremes, Elton John, and ABBA from my mother's side, and Pink Floyd, Jethro Tull, and Steel Eye Span from my dad's. And I am forever thankful for these musical roots, as they have done really well to pave the way to a lot of my favourite artists and records to this day. But as a boy grows up, he enters the inevitably rebellious phase of his life. He rejects the status quo, shuns the established norms, and craves something rebellious, outrageous, and shocking. For little old me, that very handily came in the form of Metallica's crowning glory, Master of Puppets. A friend of mine popped the CD in once when I went to visit on a fateful afternoon in the early to mid-90s for our regularly scheduled game of Warhammer Fantasy Battles 5th edition, Skaven for Life. The opening track, Battery, at the time, mostly passed me by, honestly, because I was far too preoccupied with filling up the crude plywood hand-painted board we used as a battle map with small plastic rat people. But when the title track kicked in, I had an awakening moment. I was Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man climbing that building in a darkened alleyway, slowly looking towards the vanishing ground behind me with utter astonishment. I'd found it. I had finally found what was me. Thrash was here, and so was I, and I was all for it. The next decade or so saw me digging around for the gnarliest guitar albums I could find. From Metallica, Megadeth, Anthrax, Slayer, Exodus, pretty much everything that a parent didn't really want their preteen to be listening to, really. I wanted all of it. But gradually my taste slowed down a bit. I regressed back to my roots when I hit my early 20s, and honestly I found myself craving the music from my childhood. The thrash took a back seat, and I branched out to other, less frenetic things, and thrash metal eventually became, well, just another cornerstone memory piece in my musical DNA, only to be revisited for when I was feeling nostalgic or spicy. But despite my currently old and doddering fuddy-duddy tastes, Hellfire has managed to stoke the flames of one of my oldest loves and has made me truly enjoy thrash metal all over again. This is definitely a band that subscribes to the book of new wave of British heavy metal as much as it does thrash. And there's some really clear and obvious DNA from bands like Saxon and Iron Maiden, just as much as there is Megadeth and Metallica. You'll get plenty of galloping riffs and shrieking high-note vocals with your time here, and it's honestly an absolute blast. The lyrics are kind of exactly what you'd expect, to be honest with you. Never really going to win any awards for poetry or prose, but they function very, very well as scene setters, never serving to distract from what is ultimately a guitar-driven album. Jake Nunn's vocals are raw and real, managing to sound like the best blend between Kill 'Em All era Hetfield and Powerslave Dickinson, really. He's a fantastic fit for the music, and it's hard to imagine anyone else being better suited to what Hellfire are putting out. The guitars duel and soar brilliantly, with Nunn and fellow guitarist Tony Campos trading off solos against each other, whilst never sacrificing on the melodies that carry each song to conclusion. The bass and the drums form a solid and dependable backbone throughout, but never amount to anything that I would describe as really either truly spectacular or memorable. They kind of mostly feel as, admittedly extremely good, set dressing to the centre stage guitars. Although, that being said, there's a really excellent driving bass riff on the closing track, The Executioner, which just screams Steve Harris. As a bass player myself, though, and having seen how poorly mixed the instrument has been in certain albums of the genre, which we're not going to talk about here, it is at least nice to be able to hear its fullness in the mix. Even if I would have appreciated a few more standout moments throughout, but it's fine. Its purpose is well served here nonetheless. The entire band is having a great time on this record. There's a lot of pure, unfiltered passion and energy on Reckoning, and the band has my utmost respect for crafting something that feels just so real. You can tell that they really love what they are doing, and they are having the time of their lives making this music. It really carries itself well across the 45-minute runtime. Honestly, I suppose my main beef with the album is kind of also simultaneously one of its strengths. That is to say, it is unapologetically 80s sounding, and honestly everything that really comes with that. I mean, 25 years ago I would have lapped this up and nothing much else, but I feel in my later years I need a bit more variety from my music, honestly. I mean, don't get me wrong here, I can press play on this album, have a great time with it, etc, etc, but I don't know, I just struggle to give my fullest attention to an album that adheres to a single style or theme from start to finish. Honestly though, that's entirely a me problem though, as honestly Hellfire have crafted a brilliant album that is 100% for thrash metal fans here. Reckoning is a great collection of songs, but I honestly do tend to find myself picking out favourites to jam out to, rather than sitting politely through the whole thing with a cup of tea and some custard creams. Speaking of favourites, I suppose Tortuga Nights feels like an easy pick for me for the best track on the album. It's also the longest one at just over 6 minutes. Almost like I've got a thing for longer songs. It's an absolute ass-kicker though, demonstrating some of the leanest solos, tightest melodies, and best vocal hooks on the album. I get a bit of a thrash maiden vibe from the whole record, but especially on this song. And I can't recommend it enough as a way of testing the waters. If you dig this one track, you're probably going to be in for a really good time with Reckoning. The album is pretty well paced considering the blueprint it subscribes to. Individual songs never really outstay their welcome, the riffs are never not exciting throughout, and we even get a little bit of a breather with the penultimate track, A Dying Moon, which kind of slows things down a little bit before the big finish of The Executioner. So, honestly, I mean, what else can I say about Reckoning? This is a really entertaining blast from the past. Everything from the album art to the song structures, instrumentation and tone, lyrical themes, and just passion behind every single inch of this marks this as a record out of time in the best possible way. It's hard to pick any real faults with this record, but it's not gonna convince anyone to convert to the Church of Thrash Metal. If you don't like it, you don't like it. And Hellfire, despite their best intentions, are not going to win over anyone cold to the genre with this record. I had an amazing time with this, and as someone who sees thrash metal as a link to their childhood, it was honestly so excellent to hear this kind of music again. I mean, yeah, I'm never going to get that same feeling of hearing Puppets for the first time and what that awoke within me, but Reckoning is about as close as I'm going to get to that as a man in his indeterminate mid-30s. So, if you loved that bit in Stranger Things, as most of us did, when Eddie stood atop the mobile home with his guitar, blasting out Master of Puppets in defiance of the Upside Down, there's a very, very strong chance that you are going to rock the absolute hellfire out of this record. This is all, of course, my opinion, as you know, so tell me what you thought of this record in the comments below. If you have anything you listened to this year you think I should check out, that I might enjoy, do let me know about it. Might get around to giving it my own thoughts. Who knows? If you like this video, please do share it with anyone who you think might enjoy it. Thumb it if you liked it. Maybe consider subbing as well for some more content. Until next time, guys, keep your rhyme signatures odd.